You're listening to Big World Network.
Phineas Frakture and the Curse of Steamhotep, Episode 7, written by Joseph Gatch, read by Michael Young. "Did you get a good look at him?" William asked, handing Phineas a cold compress as they made their way down the street. The lack of generosity of the city never ceased to amaze him. As the inspector had already vacated Burke's apartment, it took William the better half of an hour to scour the neighborhood, banging on doors, before he acquired a cloth and cold water. He had finally had to pay a more than unfair bribe to an elderly woman for the simple remedy. "All I saw were stars and a red fez," said Phineas.
"That's narrowed the search. How many fezzes could there be in New York?"
The duo had turned the corner and stopped. Phineas sighed as they observed several hundred red fez-covered shrine masons entering their temple. "I need coffee," said Phineas.
"Have something stronger, perhaps," returned William.
As they continued on, Phineas rubbing his neck and William still counting fezzes, something caught Phineas's attention in the reflection of the storefront window across the street. "Let's take a shortcut," Phineas announced, suddenly guiding his friend into an alley on the right. As soon as they were around the corner, he pushed William up against the wall and motioned for him to keep silent. A moment later, a head capped with a fez slowly peered around the corner. Phineas quickly grabbed the man by the lapels and hauled him into the alley. The squat, dark-skinned man went wide-eyed at being caught. "Why are you following us?" demanded Phineas.
"Were you the one who hit me?"
He quickly patted the man down, looking for the key and any weapons. All the while, the man jabbered quickly in a foreign tongue, which Phineas assumed was Egyptian.
"What is he saying?"
asked William. Phineas turned attention to his friend. "When have you ever known me to speak Egyptian, or any other language for that matter?"
"Well, you were studying the symbols and texts, and you speak in tongues when you get angry, and that's science gibberish, and I'll be quiet now."
Phineas shook his head and returned to the foreigner, who was still jabbering. Finally he finished with a word Phineas understood.
"Steamhotep."
"Steamhotep?"
Yes, Steamhotep,"
said the foreigner with the look of a lost puppy. He obviously wanted to tell Phineas something, but he had no way of communicating with him. The professor thought for a moment, and then pulled both the foreigner and William by their arms. "Come on, I think I have a solution." Hailing a cab, the trio journeyed to a shop that sported a giant automaton in front of it. Phineas paid the driver, and with a belch of smoke from its boiler, the cab went on its way.
"What are we doing here?"
asked William as he gazed at the monstrosity standing over the entrance. "Finding a solution," replied Phineas. Fortunately, because of the expo, the majority of the shops in the city were open on Sunday. They entered the shop and were greeted by a shriveled old man with white hair that stuck out in every direction, wearing a multi-lensed ocular enhancer over his right eye. "I'm looking for an interpreter. Do you have any available?"
"Sweep!"
the old man shouted, much louder than expected. Phineas and William looked at each other, confused. A minute later, an automaton walked in, holding a broom.
"This is Sweepo. He's an interpreter, but all he's been good for around here is cleaning the place."
Phineas looked at the model as it started talking. "I am AD-1977, Human Automaton Relations. He calls me Sweepo. I am fluent in over 100 forms of communication." "Do you speak—" Phineas turned to the foreigner. "Say something," and gestured for him to talk. When the man finished, Phineas continued. "Whatever that is." "Of course, sir. It's like a second language to me." William leaned in.
"Ask if it speaks bocce."
"Do you speak—" Phineas turned and glared at him. "What the devil kind of language is bocce? I swear, William, you live in your own world sometimes."
"Far, far away," William said, drifting off.
"All right. How much for it?" he asked the shop owner.
$100.
$100 for this? He's ancient and things are falling off of him. Phineas flicked a piece attached to a spring, and it went flying across the counter, where the owner caught it. 90 then, and you pay 10 for breaking that. Seeing as how he wasn't going to get a cheaper price, he paid the man. Come on, you can leave the broom. Sir, the automaton said, if I might say, I have a companion in the back room that is really good at— No, snapped Phineas. One wreck is enough. As they walked out of the shop, Phineas continued griping about the cost of the old automaton, until he realized that he was walking alone. He stopped, turned around, and noticed that William and the foreigner were standing and watching Sweepo walking, in what was actually a rocking shuffle, 20 yards behind them. Phineas grumbled some more as he walked back to the interpreter. Are you always this slow? Unfortunately, sir, I have been in that shop for a very long time. All right, let's see if we can speed you up a bit. Where are your memory punch cards located? In my cranial cavity, of course. Phineas checked the back of the head, found a key protruding from the neck, and then pulled a screwdriver from his coat. He loosened some screws and wiggled Sweepo's head. When that didn't work, he picked up a loose brick from the next building and smacked the side of the automaton's head several times. Much to William's and Sweepo's surprise, Phineas then yanked the head off of the body. We only need this part, Phineas said, tossing it in his hand. How undignified, Sweepo stated as his body began to shuffle around in circles on the sidewalk. Phineas found a piece of discarded twine and tied each end to one of the interpreter's ears. He then hung the head around the foreigner's neck. You will interpret for him as well as us, understood? Clearly, sir. Now, first things first. Phineas looked around and spotted an outside cafe. I need coffee. After being seated and ordering, Phineas looked at his subject. Now, who are you, and what do you know about Steamhotep? I am Ishak, the foreigner stated via Sweepo. I came from Luxor, after I saw the one called Kavanaugh had unearthed Steamhotep's tomb. There is a legend among my people about a great builder. He created machines for the pharaohs to erect monuments and palaces for them. And it is said that he dreamed of everlasting life. What happened to him? No one knows. It is said that he became obsessed with immortality. Others say he wished to rule the kingdom. It all depends on who you ask. But one thing is for sure. The warning on the sarcophagus was to be heeded at all costs. How could he still live? Asked Phineas. I examined him myself. He has no organs. He's decaying as we speak. There is just no scientific proof to back up this curse. Where science fail, the gods prevail. It is said that the power of Anubis himself flows through Steamhotep. I watched you yesterday. You saw the heart of Steamhotep. Yes, like nothing I've ever seen before. He created everything within him with science and magic. Pah! No such thing. Phineas took a sip of his coffee. Do you know who killed Kavanaugh and Burke? Only that there is a cult. Now there's a cult? Muttered William. That wishes to bring back the glory of the old empire. Steamhotep could bring about that glory with his genius. I, Ishak, have been entrusted by my people to see that this does not happen. Please, you must help me. If we do not stop this cult, what then? Asked Phineas. I do not know. Only despair will follow, finished Ishak. So, do you have some sort of holy army at your disposal? Asked Phineas. No. A mystic weapon that can slay the undead? Magic lamp? No. Where do you come up with these ideas? Do you think that because we are old gods, we are a bunch of magicians? I am insulted by the stereotypes that you throw around. Do I come here and ask you where your 6-shooter is, cowboy? Do you even have a gun?
Here's a rifle that makes monsters vomit, said William.
And this works? Asked Ishak. Not really, no, answered Phineas. Look, we need some way to stop him if this is as bad as you say. Don't you have any ideas? I am making this up as I go, Ishak humbly replied. Great. Let me guess. When you say that you were entrusted by your people, what you really meant was that no one else wanted to do it, and you drew the short straw. Yes, I did. A shadow passed over the cafe, and Phineas looked up. High above, an Imperial airship hovered over them, its engines silent. An antenna array was lowered from the cabin. I think that we are not the only ones intent on finding our wayward mummy. Phineas stood up and looked at the Zeppelin. Whether he was addressing his companions or challenging those listening above, he wasn't sure himself. The race is on, gentlemen.
You're listening to Big World Network.